What's the deal, YouTube? It's your boy NextGen720, and I am back with another video. I'm loving these JBL headphones, man. They are the truth when in the booth. Anyway, reports are starting to come out now that Fallout 4 on the PlayStation 4 is suffering from extreme frame rate issues. It said sometimes it drops down to the single digits. You gotta love that power of the PlayStation 4. You gotta love that power. For a lot of you, those didn't know, I remember when these next generation consoles were announced. And like I said, a lot about next gen that you don't know. Like a lot of you guys don't know, I went to Seton Hall for 2 years. I also graduated from the Chubb Institute. I got my A+ certification. I got a little bunch of shit I'm certified in. But, you know, for like I said, believe nothing of what you hear and half of what you see. A lot of you motherfuckers think I'm some idiot, dumbass thug that don't know shit about anything. I know my hole in the head from, you know, and then a hole in the ground. So like I said, I'll let you think what you know about me. But I remember when the specs of these next generation consoles were announced, and you know, and all you Sony fans was jumping up and down about this DDR5 RAM, and which is, like I said in the day, and I remember you guys were saying it was so much faster than the DDR3 frame that Microsoft was using, which it is literally, like, you know what I mean, but it's not just the DDR3 that Microsoft was using. It was the DDR3 plus the eSRAM, what makes it actually faster than the DDR5. It is, but we're not going to go into that. It's neither here nor there. That's talking about specs on paper, then you have what you call real-world performance. So, but one of the things go back, if you're those that have been rocking out with me for a while, you know what I'm talking about. It's something that I've been talking about since forever. I'm not saying I'm some fancy developer, but I know something about something, and that's that thing. That GDDR5, yes, it does wonders for the GPU, but it causes latency for the CPU. You know what I mean? Slows it down, you know what I mean? Now, already, you got to realize this, that both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 are using mobile, you know, they're using anemic CPUs. The Xbox One's is overclocked. I think 1.75, whatever the case may be, and I think PlayStation's is 1.6. But like I said in the day, so when you have some games that are CPU heavy, some games like the Assassin's Creed, like the Unity engine, you guys were jumping up and down and saying no parity, when Assassin's Creed Unity was 900p on the Xbox One and 900p on the PlayStation 4. You guys jumped up and down and said that the Xbox One version was holding back the PlayStation 4. Remember that shit? And I was pointing, you know, I remember even Boogie, big ass hop, PlayStation 4, no parity. And I was one of the only YouTubers said back then that you have some engines that are CPU heavy. And the Unity engine was, and I said before, if anything, the PlayStation 4 version is holding the Xbox One version back because the Xbox One has a beefier CPU. You guys called me everything but a child of God. You remember that? You guys attacked me. Let's go back to some of my older videos. You guys called me everything but a child of God. And I said, you know, I understand that the PlayStation 4 GPU, for what I still don't know what GPU is in the Xbox One, but from what we heard, the PlayStation 4 GPU is supposed to be a little bit more beefier than the Xbox One's, but the Xbox One has a more beefier CPU. So games that are CPU heavy, the Xbox One will fare better. Normally, like I said, it's not my opinion. Throughout this generation, the Xbox One has had a better frame rate for its games, whereas the PlayStation 4, they may have been 1080p, but they suffered when it comes to these, you know, to frame rate issues. Look at The Witcher. Look at look at Call of Duty Advanced last year. Dropped down. It's supposed to be 60 frames a second. Dropped down to 22 frames. Whereas the Xbox One stayed at even about, you know, 60 frames. That's the reason why you don't have not one exclusive for the PlayStation 4 that's 1080p, 60 frames a second. Now Microsoft has a few, even with, you know, racers who say easy to get to 60 frames a second. Look at Drive Club, 1080p, 30 frames a second. And before you said, well, Forza Horizon is 30 frames per second too, but it's a open world. Two different. Where here, Sony shit is surrounded track, Microsoft shit is open world. Now, but just bear with me. Now, when I say AAA, I'm not talking about no remakes or remasters. They don't have one game that's locked to 1080p 60 frames a second. Now, anywhere it comes out, it says many copies of Fallout 4 for the PlayStation 4 are already in the hands of gamers and headed out the launch date. You know what I mean? Set up November 10th. You know, prime example, I was able to get Tomb Raider and Fallout 4 Friday if I chose to, but I'm getting them from Best Buy because I'm a part of the game reward zone thing. So I get all brand new games reserved for $47, and I get $10 back in reward zone points. So I can use to buy anything in the store. So if you guys not a part of that Best Buy program, when you pre-order a game at Best Buy, you get it for $47 and some change, and you get $10 back in store in store money that you can spend on whatever you want. So you're really getting it for $37. It's $30 for 2 years. The game is unlocked, or whatever the program is called, for Best Buy. Hop on it. So that's the reason why I didn't pick up Tomb Raider. I have any interest in Fallout. It's not really my type of game, but could have got it also this Friday. So it says many copies of Fallout 4 for the PlayStation 4 are already in the hands of gamers ahead of launch date, officially set for November 10th on all platforms. And first reports seem to concur there's significant frame rate issues. A topic has been created exactly for this kind of report on NeoGAF board, which people on NeoGAF are blaming these problems on the fact that Microsoft has the marketing deal and that Bethesda went out there and officially gave the PlayStation 4 version of this game frame rate issues. This is what I'm talking about. Some of you motherfuckers say some of the craziest shit. Like everything got to be a conspiracy. What Sony should have did, because like I said, I don't know what engine they're using for the game, but some engines are CPU heavy. What Sony should have said was, you know what? Instead of saying, you know what, let it be 1080p, give us a dynamic resolution. You understand what I'm saying? Like they did with Call of Duty this year. You all know that, you know, coming up under the Call of Duty is not native 1080p on the PlayStation 4. They want this whole dynamic resolution to avoid the thing that happened last year. So that's what Sony should have stepped up and said this year. But no, they could have the Xbox One version being 1080p, native 1080p, and the PlayStation 4 being up in. That's what I'm talking about with Sony. What I don't like. No one can tell the difference between a dynamic 1080p or a native 1080p. No one can tell what the human eye between a 900p game and a native 900p or a native 1080p. You can't. Both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 upscales. You know what I mean? But you can tell a game that's moving across the screen like this. You know what I mean? They said this goddamn game drops down to single digits on the PlayStation 4. And guess what? So we said, what about the Xbox One? I know several people right now that's playing the Xbox One version. Right now, my friends, shout out to Southbound. You know what I mean? They're playing it right now on the Xbox One. You know what I mean? I text my son because I told you I have a confession to make. My son is a pony. He hasn't hit me back yet. I don't know if he's asleep or what. He's a little weirdo. I was asking him did he run into any frame rate issues on the PlayStation 4. But you know what it is, what it is. But like I said, I've even talked to some people personally within the community, and they said that the PlayStation 4 version of Fallout 4 is running like shit. They're going to trade it in and get the Xbox One version. You know what I mean? Now, like I said, of course, NeoGAF, jokers on NeoGAF, they jumping up and down, screaming that the fix is in. You know, like I said, that's the bottleneck. So like I said, you guys jumping down to some of that dead GDDR5 RAM. You know what I mean? Which is great for, you know, for your GPU. It is. Now, some engines are GPU heavy. You understand what I'm saying? That's, you know, your graphics processing unit. Some engines are, you know what I mean? But some engines, like the Unity engine and some other things, are CPU heavy. You know what I mean? Take a game like Sunset Overdrive. See all those enemies on the screen and all that stuff? That's CPU heavy shit. You don't see stuff like that on the place. Look at the prime example. You take a game like what's the goddamn PS4 game? What with the superpowers? What the hell? Do I even have that game anymore? No, I don't. I don't have it anymore. But anyway, I was just talking about Infamous Second Son. There you go. You know, I will compare it to a game like Sunset Overdrive. You know, we're not the same type of game, but when you're fighting, it's never more than 2 or 3, 4 enemies. You won't see like 20 to 30 enemies running at you at one time on Infamous Second Son, because the CPU of the PS4 couldn't handle it. And that's a game like that, screaming to have a whole bunch of enemies running at you, got all these powers. But no, you know what I mean? You're not going to get that. I guarantee you that a game like Sunset Overdrive could not run on a PlayStation 4 and have it at 1080p. There's no way in hell. Too many enemies, too much shit going on the screen at one time. That's what I'm telling you guys. When the cloud comes out, the Xbox One is really going to shine. You're going to have some... I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. But anyway, I'm going to leave the link down here. You guys can check it out for yourself. And this is one of the times when Sony dropped the ball. They should have said, you know what, Bethesda, give us a dynamic resolution or knock the game down to 900p. It's okay if the Xbox One has a higher resolution sometimes. Trust me, it's not a big deal to me because I don't. I'm just reporting the fact. But I remember you guys called me everything but a child of God. You know, back then I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Remember they said PS4 no parity. Go back and check my Assassin's Creed video. And before it came out, and Ubisoft talked about the engines and, you know, it's CPU heavy, you guys called me everything but a child of God. Also, for those who know, I'm the first Joker on YouTube, Xbox Pro channel, was talking about DX12 for the Xbox One. And then it was coming. You guys said I didn't know the hell I was talking about that either. But hey, man, you gotta love that GDDR5 RAM. But this is your boy Next Gen 720, and if your grandmother got a fat ass, tell her I'm single, ready to mingle. Hey, baby girl, I'm single, ready to mingle. I'm out of here. Bang, bang. Somebody, these ponies gonna hook me up with their grandmothers. One guy said his grandmother got a fat ass.